Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the NoDQ.com live recap of both Friday Night Smackdown and a live edition of AEW Rampage for Friday, November 5th, 2021. Big shout out to everybody watching, whether it's live or on demand. I very much appreciate your viewership and support. So, let's get down to the recap. We kicked off Smackdown back on Fox after being on FS1 last week. We kicked it off with the Tribal Chief. He is back. As Pat McAfee said, the GOAT is back. And Pat McAfee even had a funny line saying that stupid baseball is over. We had a recap shown of last week. The Usos took on the New Day. They lost. Crowd was chanting, "You suck" at Reigns. Reigns said that he was not on the show last week because he was taking a vacation to celebrate smashing Brock Lesnar at Crown Jewel. He said he was even walking around naked, and his wife was very much loving it. He asked Paul Heyman what happened last week. Heyman stalled and kind of did not answer the question, but then Heyman finally said, yeah, the Usos lost. Reigns said that the New Day, they are entertaining, but they are not better than the Bloodline. And then Reigns went further and asked who got pinned in that match. The Usos pointed at each other, but then it was Jimmy who was outed as the one that took the pin. And Reigns asked Jimmy how the problem would be fixed. Jimmy said he would make King Xavier acknowledge him. The New Day showed up. Xavier decided to come up with a stipulation for this match. He proposed that if Jimmy won the match, Xavier would acknowledge Roman Reigns. But if Xavier beat, as he referred to him as, James Uso, then James would have to bend the knee to the king of WWE. Reigns accepted the match, and we had the graphics. Who would bend the knee in the main event? King Xavier versus James Uso. I think this whole thing was a little bit silly, if you ask me. But we'll talk more about that in just a little bit. We had our opening match, Naomi versus Shayna Baszler. Sonya Deville was backstage, and she said that if Naomi could win, maybe Naomi would get a match against her. We had the match. Shayna got the upper hand early on, hit a gut-wrench suplex on the floor. But then after the commercial break, Naomi got back in it. Naomi rolled up Shayna and picked up the win. However, Sonya Deville then arrived and said because Naomi grabbed the rope as she was reversing Shayna's momentum, the pinfall did not count. Sonya said she had no choice but to restart the match, and then Shayna quickly picked up the win with the Kira Fuda clutch. This storyline's okay, but I'm not sure how you guys feel about it. I just want to see Naomi in the Bloodline already. I'm kind of over this. I know they're building up this storyline between Sonya and Naomi, and I suppose I'll have to just see how it plays out, but I want Naomi in the Bloodline as a heel already. Just my own opinion. Backstage, we had Roman Reigns talking about how he took 1 week off and SmackDown sucked. Reigns took it a step further and said that SmackDown was almost as bad as Raw. Ouch. Jimmy Uso started laughing at this, and Reigns was not amused. He was quite pissed off at Jimmy. We had a Ridge Holland interview, and I guess he's going to be in a storyline with Sheamus. He was talking about all of Sheamus's accomplishments. We'll see where that goes. We had an interview backstage with Shotzi. Last week, she turned heel. She attacked Sasha Banks after she lost a match to Charlotte Flair. Shotzi basically blamed Sasha for her loss. Shotzi said that she lost title opportunities, she lost her tag team partner, she lost the support of the fans, and she said thanks to Sasha, she lost the biggest match of her career. She said she is going to not only run over Sasha, but run over anybody that gets in her way, and she will not need a tank to do it. I guess this means the end of the tank as we know it. Too bad it had a nice run, but I guess now we get to see the more vicious side of Shotzi. I still think it would be better if she had the last name Blackheart, if she's going to be a heel, but whatever. And to respond to Marshall Leonard, he thinks Brock Lesnar will end up in AEW. Highly unlikely in all likelihood. I highly doubt that. Moving on here, we had Los Lotharios, which is the new team name of Angel Garza and Humberto. What are they? The sons of Jose Lothario? They were up against Cesaro and Mansoor, a makeshift tag team. Pretty decent match here. Standard, though. They worked over Mansoor for a while. Cesaro got the hot tag, did all of his signature moves, the uppercuts, and then did the swing to Garza, but then things broke down and Cesaro got knocked into Mansoor, who was sent out of the ring. Garza and Humberto, they double teamed Cesaro, and Garza pinned Cesaro. I feel bad for Cesaro. He's kind of just back in that mid-card, not really doing much of anything. The guy is so over with the fans, but doesn't really get that big push. He had his run. He had his little match with Roman Reigns, and now he's back to just enhancing other talent. Poor guy. But hey, at least he's on TV every week, right? At least he's still working for WWE. With all the releases, you know, he could have been one of those guys cut. Although some would say him going to AEW would be better for him. We had Jeff Hardy backstage chatting with Aaliyah, who's part of the Smackdown roster now, and Sami Zayn showed up and was starting to give her some advice. Not much to say about this. I guess just a segment to give Jeff Hardy and Aaliyah on TV. We had Drew McIntyre come down to the ring for an open challenge. By the way, they're calling McIntyre the Smackdown Warrior, which is, in my opinion, not a great name, but whatever. Ricochet accepted the open challenge this week, and he had some ruthless aggression. He slapped Drew McIntyre and got his ass kicked. Drew tossed McIntyre. No, Drew did not toss himself. He tossed Ricochet around. He tossed Ricochet, and Ricochet got some airtime. They were on the outside of the ring for a little bit, and Ricochet got dropped on the apron. Backstage, Ali was watching sideways and said that him and Ricochet actually have a lot in common. Drew McIntyre came off the top, but was caught by a drop kick from Ricochet. Ricochet did have a comeback. Drew McIntyre got back into the driver's seat, but then Ricochet kicked out of a brainbuster. Ricochet hit several super kicks, and then he went for this springboard moonsault, but got caught with a claymore. And this was a cool finish. I thought this looked really good. Kind of reminds me of when Ricochet did that moonsault and got hit with a super kick from Adam Cole. Very similar spot. Really good finish here. Drew McIntyre wins. No surprise. But it was a good match. I did enjoy it. And then backstage, Ali talked to Ricochet and offered to be a teammate. And Ricochet said no. Ricochet said Ali is a whiner, just makes excuses, and on top of all that, he's just a jerk. Kind of feels like a repeat of the Ali Mansoor storyline, but I guess we'll see how that one goes. We had Happy Talk with Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss, and This act should be on Monday Night Raw. It's dragging SmackDown down. Like, this is go away heat in my opinion. It's changed the channel. It's not even good. It's not entertaining in my opinion. I just do not find these guys entertaining. I don't find them entertaining as TV villains. I just find them annoying in the sense that I would rather watch anything else on TV but these guys. So they do their usual dumb jokes. Viking Raiders show up. Viking Raiders said that they're going to raid Happy Talk. It's corny. It sucks. A big fight broke out, and when you know it, during the commercial break, it was turned into a tag team match. Letter grade down for all this. Match was okay, but it's like, whatever. And Raiders were working very well together. Although Eric, at one point, he pretty much dropped Moss on his head trying to go for a power bomb. He eventually hit the move. But then Corbin pulled out Moss, and Corbin and Moss got counted out. So yeah, this whole thing was, to me, a waste of time. Did not care about any of this. Then backstage we had Hit Row minus B-Fab, who was released from the company. Hit Row ran into Sami Zayn, and Sami said that their entrance a few weeks ago was a little flat, and furthermore, he was saying that it sucked. I wonder if this was a scripted line by Vince or Bruce Pritchard or Kevin Dunn. Anyways, Top Dollar said Sami Zayn should go out there and show them how it's done. So Sami Zayn went out there, started dancing around, doing his thing. He introduced Hit Row, and Hit Row acted like they were cool with Sami, but then said, Sami sucks. And Sami tried to leave, and they were blocking him, and Sami was saying he was not there to fight. Eventually, they let him pass, and they did their line, if you don't know, now you know. They took out B-Fab's part in the entrance music, and I have to say, it's definitely a loss. Like, she was part of the cool factor of the group, and they got rid of her. And yeah, it's kind of rough. It's not looking good for Hit Row, in my opinion. Like, I don't know. And Muhammad, as far as Jeff Hardy goes, I did mention him a few minutes ago. He was in a backstage segment with Aaliyah. Caleb Jacobs says the Viking Raiders should be the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions and be Grand Slam Champions. Nah, I don't think the Usos should lose the titles anytime soon. Just my take on it. And Anthony says Hit Row is nothing without her. Well, we'll see. We had our main event, King Woods versus Jiminy Uso, as the New Day was referring to him as. You had Kofi Kingston and Jey Uso at ringside. Jey interfered, got on the apron, and Jimmy hit a Samoan drop from the second rope, but Woods kicked out of that. And then Jimmy went for the Uso splash, but Xavier got his feet up. And then Jey tried to help Jimmy, however, the referee caught him in the act. And then Woods, with a roll-up, fruit roll-up, picked up the 1-2-3 win. Crowd was chanting, bend the knee. And you had Jimmy reluctantly about to do it, but then Roman Reigns showed up, Superman punch to Xavier. They beat down Kofi as well. There was an Uso splash to Kofi's knee, and that was the end of SmackDown. Show was okay, but I mean, it kind of felt like a throwaway show. By the way, like, no build for Survivor Series. I suppose next week we'll have Big E show up on SmackDown, or Bloodline shows up on Raw or something. But yeah, like, you only got a couple weeks left until the pay-per-view, and there's like nothing for Survivor Series. Like, they did nothing to build up the pay-per-view. So I'm giving it a B minus, but I think that's being generous. I almost wanted to give it a C plus. It was a pretty decent show, but definitely not at the level of some of the other Smackdowns from earlier this year. The game is on 100 sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, thank God our tribal chief is superior king than King Woods. Woods needs to get his ass kicked by our tribal chief as the true king. It's just the whole storyline is not really intriguing to me right now. I suppose when Big E gets involved, it'll pick up. But yeah, Corbin and Moss, as MVP Kev said, it's terrible. It brings the show down. Lots of B minuses. Joey Perez, game is on 100. Mike B, MVP Kev, Matt Helms, all give it B minus. Michael Wayne with a B. Mohammed with a C plus. CC Drink says B because of Roman Reigns. Yeah, I mean, Roman was one of the few highlights of the show, I will say that. Looking at the poll, 17% A, 48% B, 19% C, and 16% D. Let's talk about Rampage, which was live this week. Wasn't a super eventful show, but they did a better job of building up their pay-per-view than WWE did building up Survivor Series, I will say that much. So we kicked off with Bryan Danielson versus Anthony Bowens of the Acclaimed. And before the match, Max Caster did his usual freestyle rap promo. He brought up Total Bellas, mentioned a reality show, but then he really went low. He brought up Bryan Danielson's father-in-law, John Laurinaitis, who of course is the head of talent relations. And you had Caster saying that he ends careers quicker than Bryan's father-in-law. And that, of course, is a reference to all of the releases from Thursday and John Laurinaitis sending out the email letting people know that their services are no longer required. So yeah, another reference to WWE. You know how it goes. AEW fans pop for it. WWE fans say, you're always taking shots at WWE. Do you have anything else better to do? That sort of thing. But they know what they're doing. They know it gets a reaction out of people. So we had the match, and it was pretty standard. It was a good match. You know, Bryan is pretty much incapable of having a bad match. But standard stuff here. You had the interference from Caster to help Bowens get the upper hand. And then Bryan would make his comeback. He dumped Bowens over the top onto Caster. And then Bryan did a dive to both guys. He got Bowens back in the ring, put on the label lock, and picked up the victory. Then we had the segment of the night for either show. If you're going to watch anything from either show this week, this is the one to watch. So we had CM Punk come down to the ring to settle this beef with Eddie Kingston. Eddie's music hit, but he did not appear at first. But then he did show up, and CM Punk wanted his apology because of the interruption from last week's Rampage. Eddie said he was not at Dynamite because he thought he had COVID. He was getting himself tested and he was trying to be cautious. Then he asked, who is CM Punk? CM Punk got offended by this, and Eddie said CM Punk was a guy that was a hero to him at one time. Guys like Punk, Samoa Joe, Homicide, Amazing Red. And Eddie said that CM Punk started judging him in the locker room, I guess back in Ring of Honor. And he said that unlike Punk, he did not kiss ass. He did not kiss up to the booker. He did not bury people. And he said that CM Punk was wrong. CM Punk responded by saying that, yeah, he did judge. And so did everybody else. Bryan Danielson too. They all held Eddie Kingston up to this high standard, and as far as CM Punk was concerned, Eddie fell short. And he even went as far to say that Eddie is a bum. Eddie got fired up at this point, said, would a bum sell his house during a pandemic to try and make it in AEW? And then he started throwing shade at Punk, saying that the locker room doesn't want Punk there, but nobody is willing to admit it. He threatened to smack the smirk off of Punk's face, and then he made the challenge for Full Gear. Punk fired back by saying Full Gear. He felt like maybe AEW Dark or AEW Elevation would be a better place for them to have a match. And then Eddie said that Punk was a coward. He kept saying, fight me repeatedly. And Punk finally accepted the match for Full Gear. And then Eddie, with one more low blow in a figurative sense, he said after he beats up Punk, doesn't matter, win or lose, he is going to make Punk quit the wrestling business again. Punk got very offended by this, and he responded with a headbutt. We had a big brawl, referees coming down, officials trying to break them up, the whole pull-apart brawl thing. But I thought this was excellent. I thought Eddie Kingston did a fantastic job. He was just on fire on the mic. And I figured once these guys got in the ring and started taking shots, that this feud would heat up very quickly. And at this point, this is now the match I'm looking forward to the most on this pay-per-view. Maybe even more than Adam Page versus Omega. I mean, they killed it in this segment. Really good stuff here from these guys. Both of them were just on fire on the mic. Hamp Kana with a $5 super chat says, all those releases yesterday and Baron Corbin still has a job. Unbelievable. He must kiss a lot of ass. For whatever reason they like Corbin. Corbin, probably a good company guy, does whatever they need him to do. He's tall, and he's a pretty good wrestler. I think sometimes people don't give him enough credit for his skills in the ring, Unfortunately, Corbin's often linked to these really bad segments, and that's why people are so down on him. The broke Corbin stuff was great. Like, I feel that he's capable of doing really good stuff. Mohammed says Eddie Kingston is MJF 2.0. And Caleb Jacobs said, I love this promo. Caleb said, Eddie should be the TNT champion. Well, I'm hoping at some point Eddie gets some title. Like, he's really been doing great stuff in AEW, but he always seems to come up short. Imagine if he actually beat CM Punk like that. That would be a huge win. Don't think it's going to happen, but that could be something to really take his career into high gear. So yeah, this to me was the highlight of either show. It was announced, there was a backstage promo with Christian Cage and the Jurassic Express. They will be facing the Super Click, Adam Cole and the Young Bucks, in a Falls Count Anywhere match. That should be really good. We had the Bunny versus Red Velvet in a TBS title tournament match. Pretty standard match here with the ladies. You had Jade Cargill at ringside providing a distraction, and Bunny got the upper hand for a while. She stomped Velvet into the steps and then hit a Death Valley driver, but Velvet kicked out of that, and then Velvet won with her finisher. They're calling it the final slice. Red Velvet advances in the tournament. And then we had our main event match, Adam Cole versus John Silver. Mark Henry did the usual pre-match interview segment, and they did bring up being the elite, how they have John Silver calling Adam Cole Budge, and the announcers didn't even understand what this was about, so Excalibur, of course, had to explain it, and I guess the story is that, another WWE reference, John Silver on Being the Elite wanted Adam Cole to become his manager, shave his head, and I guess the nickname for Adam Cole would be Budge. I think it's dumb, and this is a WWE reference that I think is kind of dumb also, but the AEW fans eat it up. So the match was good, predictable. I mean, I don't think anybody ever thought that John Silver was going to beat Adam Cole, But it was a really good match. Both guys moved very quickly, so it was a fun, fast-paced match. You had the Young Bucks at ringside. They were helping out Adam Cole. They did the little kiss moment where they both kiss him on the cheek. And when Silver made his comeback, the Bucks put Cole's foot on the rope. Dark Order ran down to try and even the odds. Silver was able to block a low blow, and he hit a spinning Liger bomb. Cole kicked out of it. And the crowd bought into this near fall, which I guess is a testament to their skills, because I never at any moment thought that John Silver was winning this match. But maybe if I was there live, I'd have a different thought process on it. Maybe I'd get more into the heat of the moment. Who knows? But yeah, just the crowd was into it, of course. And then Cole picked up the win with the last shot. And it was a good main event. Good ending to the show. As far as the letter grade goes, I mean, it was a good show. I'd probably give it a solid B. But the real highlight of the show was that Eddie Kingston and CM Punk promo. Really looking forward to that match now. One promo, they got me sold on that one. So yeah, good night for wrestling. Hope you guys enjoyed the video tonight. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for checking out NoDQ.com. We got a lot of news up on the site, the fallout from the releases. Make sure you stay tuned to NoDQ for all that. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Have a great night, and I will see you all next time.